everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I am making a beautiful strawberry cake with a light and fluffy vanilla sponge, fresh strawberries and a creamy strawberry frosting. This cake looks elegant, but it's actually made with simple ingredients. It is soft, fresh and not overly sweet, which makes it perfect for spring and summer celebrations. So let's get started. First, let's prepare the sponge cake. I recommend making it the day before you assemble the cake, so it has enough time to cool and rest overnight in the refrigerator. For the sponge, we need 4 eggs. Carefully separate the egg whites from the yolk and place them into 2 clean bowls. Make sure there is no egg yolk in the whites, because even a small amount of fat can prevent them from wiping properly. We will begin with the egg yolks. Add half of the sugar and beat on medium speed for several minutes, until the mixture becomes pale, thick and creamy. Add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and mix again until it is fully incorporated. Set the egg yolk mixture aside while we prepare the egg whites. Make sure your bowl and whisk are completely clean and dry. Add a pinch of salt and begin beating the egg whites on medium speed. Once they become white and frothy, gradually add the remaining sugar, a little at a time, while continuing to mix. Continue beating until the egg whites become thick and glossy and form stiff peaks. When you leave the whisk, the peak should stand upright and hold its shape. The mixture should also stay firmly in the bowl if you carefully turn it upside down. Be careful not to overbeat the egg whites. They should look smooth and glossy, not dry or grainy. Now we can combine the two mixtures. Add about 1/3 of the wiped egg whites to the egg yolks mixture and gently fold them together with a spatula. This will lighten the yolk mixture and make it easier to incorporate the remaining egg whites. Add the rest of the egg whites in 2 additions, gently folding after each one. Use slow, gentle movements. Bring the spatula through the center of the bowl, scrape along the bottom, and fold the mixture over the top. Try not to stir the mixture or press out the air. The whipped eggs are what make this sponge light and fluffy, so we want to preserve as much volume as possible. Once the egg whites are almost completely incorporated, sieve the flour directly over the batter. Add the flour in 2 or 3 additions, gently folding after each one. Make sure to reach the bottom of the bowl, because small pockets of flour can collect there. Continue folding only until you no longer see any dry flour. Do not overmix the batter, or it may lose its volume and the sponge can turn out dense. Once the batter is ready, let's prepare the cake ring. I'm using a 7-inch round cake ring. Place a sheet of parchment paper underneath it and wrap the bottom tightly with aluminum foil to hold everything securely in place and prevent the batter from leaking. Place the prepared cake ring onto a baking sheet and carefully transfer the batter into it. Gently spread the batter into an even layer and smooth the top with a spatula. Place the cake into the oven, which has already been preheated to 355 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. Bake the sponge cake for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. The cake is ready when the top is lightly golden, brings back when gently touched, and a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Remove the sponge from the oven and carefully turn it upside down. Allow it to cool completely in this position. Once the cake has cooled completely, carefully peel away the parchment paper and remove the foil from the bottom. Then run a thin knife around the inside of the cake ring to release the sponge and carefully remove the ring. Wrap the cooled sponge tightly in plastic wrap and place it in the refrigerator overnight. The next day, the sponge will be fully rested, more stable, and much easier to slice into clean, even layers. Now let's prepare the soaking syrup. In a small saucepan, combine 100 grams of water, 60 grams of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Place the saucepan over medium heat and stir until the sugar has completely dissolved. There is no need to boil the syrup for a long time. As soon as the mixture becomes clean and you no longer see any sugar crystals, remove it from the heat. Set the syrup aside and allow it to cool completely before brushing it over the cake layers. Now that the sponge cake has rested overnight, remove it from the refrigerator and carefully take off the plastic wrap. For this cake, I'm cutting the sponge into 3 even layers. You can use a cake leveler like I'm using or a long serrated knife. First, place the sponge cake on a flat surface. Adjust the wire on your cake leveler to the height of the first cut. Hold the leveler firmly with both hands and gently move it through the sponge using a slow sewing motion. Now adjust the wire to the height of the second cut. Slowly move the cake leveler through the remaining sponge until the 2 layers are completely separated. You should now have 3 even sponge cake layers. If the sponge has formed a small dome on top, you can carefully trim it to create a flat and even surface. Set the layers aside and now we can prepare the fresh strawberries for assembling the cake. For this recipe, I'm using about 1 pound of strawberries. Set aside some of the prettiest one for decorating the top of the cake. Wash the strawberries, dry them very well, and remove the green stems. Slice the remaining strawberries into even pieces so they sit neatly between the cake layers. Once all of the strawberries are prepared, set them aside while we make the frosting. To a large mixing bowl, add 212 grams of strawberry cream cheese. You can also use regular cream cheese if you prefer. Add 80 grams of powdered sugar and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You can adjust the amount of powdered sugar depending on how sweet you would like the frosting to be. Begin mixing on low speed so the powdered sugar does not fly out of the bowl. Once the ingredients start to come together, gradually increase the speed to medium and continue mixing until the cream cheese becomes smooth and creamy. Next, add 400 grams of cold heavy whipping cream. Continue beating on medium speed until the frosting becomes thick, smooth, and holds stiff peaks. Be careful not to overmix it. Stop as soon as the frosting is firm enough to hold its shape, because overbeating can make it grainy and cause the cream to separate. Once the frosting is ready, transfer it to a large piping bag. This will make assembling the cake much easier. I'm using a regular round piping tip, but you can also use the piping bag without a tip. Use a scraper to push all of the frosting toward the tip of the bag and remove any large air pockets. Place the piping bag in the refrigerator until you are ready to assemble the cake. Take a nice serving plate or cake dish and place the first sponge cake layer in the center. Brush the sponge evenly with the cooled soaking syrup. Make sure to cover the entire surface, including the edges, but do not add too much at once. We want the sponge to become soft and moist without making it soggy. Next, arrange a layer of sliced strawberries over the sponge. Try not to place the strawberries too close to the edge, because they may release juice and push through the frosting. Place the cake ring around the sponge layer. The ring will help keep the cake straight and stable while we assemble it. Now begin piping the frosting over the strawberries. Make sure to pipe frosting between the strawberry slices so there are no large empty spaces. Use a spatula to spread the frosting into a smooth, even layer. Remove any excess frosting and transfer it to a separate bowl. We will use it later to cover and smooth the outside of the cake. Carefully place the second sponge layer on top and gently press it down so it sits evenly. Brush the second sponge layer with sucking syrup, making sure the entire surface is evenly moistened. Arrange another layer of sliced strawberries over the sponge. Pipe the frosting over the strawberries, filling all of the spaces between them, and then smooth it into an even layer with a spatula. Before adding the final sponge layer, brush the bottom side with the soaking syrup. Carefully turn it over and place it on top of the cake. Gently press it down. Pipe a layer of frosting over the top and smooth it with a spatula. Remember to save some of the frosting. We will use it to smooth and finish the cake after it has rested. Cover the top of the cake ring tightly with plastic wrap and place the cake in the refrigerator overnight. The next day, remove the cake from the refrigerator and carefully take off the plastic wrap. Carefully remove the cake ring. Now use a spatula to smooth the frosting around the sides and fill any small spaces between the sponge layers. Take the frosting that we saved earlier and begin adding a little more around the sides of the cake. This is a rustic style cake, so the frosting does not need to be perfectly smooth or completely even. Simply spread a thin layer around the sides, leaving some of the sponge slightly visible if you like. Now we can decorate the cake with the strawberries that we set aside earlier. Arrange the strawberries over the top in any design you like. And that's it, our strawberry cake is ready. Keep the cake refrigerated until you're ready to serve it. I love how simple and rustic this cake looks, especially with all of the fresh strawberries on top. It is perfect for birthday celebrations or any time you want a fresh and elegant homemade dessert. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and give it a try. If you do, let me know how it turned out in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification so you don't miss my next recipe. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.